Hey friends, it's Jess, and today I'm going to show you the very requested tutorial on how I make my own manips using a mix of AI and some editing in like Photoshop or Photopea, whatever you want to use. Should be pretty straightforward, but there are a couple different programs that you'll need to get if you don't have these already, if you want to make these kind of manips. I'm going to dive in and show you what I use and how I make them, and hopefully you'll be able to start doing this too. Also, a disclaimer, a lot of this stuff I do pay for, so this probably could be done somehow for free, but you might not get the same quality or level of consistency if you're not using or paying for like an AI service like I'm going to show you. There's a couple different approaches that I tend to have when using AI for editing. I either am just trying to animate a screen cap or a picture from a film, like this one of Rey, for example, from Star Wars, or I am trying to make new manips. So this could either be like me going in and editing a photo of two characters together, of photos that already exist, or it could be me gathering images of like the characters and the items that I want into a scene and then putting that directly in AI and seeing what it comes up with. So there's definitely two approaches here. If you are trying just to add some movement to a screen cap, like you already have an image, you just want to see it move, or we don't have that camera angle in the movie, so you want to take this particular shot and animate it, that's really easy. That's probably the easiest one, and you just need to use Kling AI with that photo and then animate it that way. If you want to, say, add or edit a photo that already exists, like for example, say I liked this shot of Rey, but I want to have her hair down and I want her to be holding a lightsaber. In this case, I use MIDJOURNEY, or you could use like Photopea, I guess, but MIDJOURNEY is nice because then it generates this stuff for me. I just tell it what I want, and then I would feed that into Kling and we can look at the animated result. And then if we were just wanting to animate an edited photo we'd made, then again, you would just plug that into Kling and see what it animates for you. If you wanted to create something new, like what I did for my last Hades and Persephone video, we're going to be using Kling's new elements feature with element photos. So they call it elements. It's really just like components you're plugging into the AI and saying, I want those things in my generated shot. So for example, I'm going to be plugging in these 4 images and we're going to see what we get with Kling. These all bring different results. So again, it kind of depends on what you're going for. And you need different software depending on what results you're trying to achieve. I just wanted to preface that, so be keeping in mind how you particularly want to approach making your new manips. All right, so I mentioned that you're going to need a couple of different programs to make your manips if you really want to do some editing, and I really recommend MIDJOURNEY if you're looking for an AI program that's going to be able to do a ton for you. I pay for their basic plan, which is $10 a month. They have all these other options, but honestly, I think you could just get away with the basic plan. If you've never used AI like MIDJOURNEY or a text-to-image generator before, basically how this works is you come up with a text prompt up top, and then it will generate that for you. So these examples below have text prompts that I wrote that are over here on the right-hand side. So I could just click this to use the exact same prompt again. So I put Kylo Ren standing before Rey, we've got rainy coastal scene, and all these other descriptors in here. The way to think about prompting AI is that computers are stupid, ultimately, and AI is stupid. And you need to talk to AI as if it doesn't know what objects are. You can kind of get away with certain things, but ultimately you need to really describe a scene that you're looking for. Describe the background if you have that in mind, describe the lighting if you have that in mind. Really just be as overly descriptive as you can. This is a result that I got. It'll give you 4 different images at a time when you generate something. And obviously these don't all look exactly like Rey and Kylo Ren. Like I thought this one looked the most like Rey's face, but Kylo Ren's didn't. It doesn't look like Adam Driver. So what I end up doing often is I will take a photo from here and I will go into Photopea. And I spent some time earlier doing this, but I found a photo of Adam Driver. So ultimately, let me just turn these off. This is the coloring that his face had. And then I spent some time going in here and just playing around with some of the coloring and fixing that up. So I overlaid that over top of his face and saved that out, and we will be plugging that into Kling to get our first result, just kind of an edited photo, an edited manip. This is a generated image from MIDJOURNEY, and then we've edited it Photopea. Let's dive in first with this image before we move on to something else. I use Kling AI to animate photos. This is also a paid service, so I have had issues trying to set up a monthly subscription for whatever reason. So what I tend to do is they have a tab for credits, and I typically go in and I purchase like $20 worth of credits at a time. So you get like 1,300 credits. Each time you generate a video, it will cost, I believe it's 35 credits. And then you can also choose to generate 2 at a time, and that will be 70. So yeah, 35 credits per time. And then your generation history will be here on the right-hand side. So these are all manips that I've made by generating them through the AI. We pull in our edited photo. So that will be our frame, and in the frames option, you'll see once this loads, you do also have the option for an end frame. So if there are like a couple of screen caps from the same scene in a movie that you just want to try animating differently, you could maybe pull in a start and end frame. But for our sake, let's just say that's good. The way Kling works here is you upload an image and then you also give it a prompt, which you don't have to. It says it's optional, but I highly recommend doing that so that the AI knows kind of exactly what you're looking for. In our case, I'm just going to say, man stares at a woman tenderly, and I'll say, then he reaches his hand. And if you're looking for other ideas, you can hit this get inspiration and it will give you different ideas for like prompts you can use. You can save presets as well. And then finally, before we actually hit generate, we can go down here. There are some options here for us. So you want to be in this professional mode. You can choose the duration, either 5 or 10 seconds. I recommend just sticking around 5 because that's still a lot to work with. And then creativity or relevance pertains to the prompt. So if you get more creative, it will be less like strict to following your prompt. And if you get more relevant, it's gonna stay as close to the prompt as you can. I just leave it usually at the default in the middle, and then generating count will be how many videos it will generate at a time. And obviously this will cost more credits depending on what you change. So I try to just stick around 1. Sometimes I do 2 if I really think my prompt is good enough. But if I'm not sure, I would just stick to 1 to try. And then at the very bottom, I recommend you do these negative prompts. This is, like it says here, list the types of content you don't want to see in the video. So they give some examples here like blur, distortion, low quality. So let's definitely make use of typing in some of those. Okay, so something like that I think is good enough for us. And then now we are ready to hit generate. And we should see that pop up on the right, and then also it will show us this generating bit in the middle. So this tells us also how much time we can expect to wait, and we can work on some other prompts in the meantime while we're preparing and while that's generating. And again, it will show up here on the right at the very top. In the meantime, while we're waiting, let's take a look at the simple just generating an existing photo. So I showed you in Figma before that I just want to add some movement maybe to this shot, or I even want to add movement to this edited photo. So that's very similar to what we just did. We're just going to upload the photo that we edited. So I have this one here. We'll just do the edited versions. Again, we can use a prompt. So I'm going to say, so this is the prompt I'm going to go with. And then again, we still have our negative prompt at the bottom, which is great. So I'm going to hit generate, and we should see our middle screen change with that one as well. And then while we're waiting for this one too, I think we could plug in our final one for the moment, which will actually our final 2, excuse me. I'm going to plug in this top animated manip, and then I will also do the elements feature last. So let's plug in that manip of Adar and Galadriel. Okay, so that's my prompt for right now, and we're going to hit generate. And then before we take a look and see if any of our prompts are done, we'll move on to the elements feature. Let's take a look back at our set here that I chose in Figma when I was setting this up. So these are 4 photos that I'm going to be pulling into Kling for their elements feature. How I like to think of this as, you can give it photos of characters, photos of things you want them to wear, maybe a layout of how you want them to be, but just be really intentional with how you're cropping things so the AI can kind of know this is the piece I want. So if I had kept this photo of this dress, including the woman's face, it might use her face instead of just the dress. So kind of be intentional with how you crop things as well to use. So let me upload all those photos. And then again, we still want to describe our scene. So I'm going to put in a prompt here now. And this is my prompt. And again, we should have the negative still at the bottom, and we can choose what format we want. I'm going to keep it at 16:9. And for this one, just because I think it's a little bit more interesting because it'll stay more consistent, let's generate 2 videos and I'll do 70 credits. that will take a little bit longer because it's more prompts and it's just a heavier one on the AI, I believe. Let's look back at some of the scenes we generated though, because some of these should be done. So our first one was of Kylo Ren and Rey. So if we take a look at that here, I would say that's pretty amazing. Like, not only does the motion kind of follow our prompt exactly, he stares at her and then he reaches his hand up to her face, but the movement of the rain in the background, the waves, the actual wind blowing their hair is really consistent, and also their faces really don't morph that much. So I would say this is exactly what I need, and I'm actually making a Reylo video, so I think this will be perfect for it. And I'm really, really happy with that. And then let's look at the next one, which was our edited photo of Rey walking. Yeah, so I think this is also really incredible. Usually the AI has a really hard time with slow motion, and I didn't even really say slow motion, I just said she walks slowly, but I did put fast in the negative, so I think it did a fantastic job here of creating more of a slow motion walk. And the wind blowing is consistent, the lightsaber doesn't morph weirdly, her hair blows really realistically. So I think this is really incredible, and again, just I'm really, really impressed with how the AI is able to do this. To our next one, which is Adar and Galadriel. And again, I think this is amazing. Usually this is not always the case where I get exactly what I'm going for, you guys. Oftentimes I have to tweak my prompt a little bit or just generate a couple of options. But I think this is a really perfect job. Obviously you can tell that, like, you'd think his nose would be on the other side when he kisses her. It looks like more he's kissing her cheek, which is just fine. But like, their faces don't look super weird or distorted. It stays really consistent. We've got nice firelight in the background. So yeah, I think that's another really, really great success here. You may have noticed that there is this little watermark at the bottom that says Kling, but if you pay for the Kling monthly like credits option at a time, and you use this 1.6 version, if you hover over the download icon, you can download without a watermark. And you can also star certain ones that you like, so you can find them easier later if you make a ton of things like I do. And then also something I don't use a ton, but I have tried once before, is just this lip sync option. I will pop back in here shortly when the last option is complete. Okay, so the two videos generated for the elements feature, and you may notice that these are actually a little bit funky, and especially like the way he pets her hair. And I think part of that is just because AI is probably not trained as much on what someone like caressing someone else's maybe hair looks like, and also this might be a funny angle for him to do that at. But you may also see that like this one does a good job of keeping like Cate Blanchett's likeness in the woman, but the man's features don't really look like Adar's, and same for the second one. It looks less like Cate and it looks a little bit more like Adar there. And I think that's just because anytime you give Kling an element of like someone's face, it's going to try to keep that within the generation. Because this was a style of like the layout that I wanted with this particular image, I just kept their faces in because it's kind of hard to block that out. But you can see that it not only took their faces, but it also tried to keep the dress from this picture as well. If we removed that, we would actually not have that issue. So I am actually generating a new video without that fourth photo. So here is our new result without that fourth photo in there. So as you can see, it's definitely a different surrounding scenery. Like the flowers are purple and there's cliffs in the background. So this is a lot different from the like example reference photo. However, you may notice that her dress is much more accurate to the photo that I included here. And also it looks like her face from this angle and also his face is more consistent with how they actually look in the element photos that I gave for them. This might be a time where I see like, oh, it's doing like a low angle and we didn't really tell it what kind of angle we wanted here. Yeah, that's kind of how you guys do this. I hope you guys have fun trying this out for yourself. All right, friends, that was the tutorial on how to make your own manips. I hope you guys are super excited. I know AI is scary and there needs to be a lot of regulations around it. The accessibility that this brings to kind of craft your vision and bring some like scene ideas to life is really exciting, especially just because I know there would be times where I would watch movies and be like, oh, we didn't get that deleted scene, or we didn't get that to hear them do this or see them, I don't know, do this. So being able to kind of really make my own movies, so to speak, is really exciting. But yeah, hope you guys have fun. Hope you make some wonderful, lovely things. I would love to see what you guys make, so I don't know how. Let me know, comment or something if you end up doing this. But yeah, excited to see what you do. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next video. See ya.